Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for January 3rd, 2024. Well, yesterday we had quite the volatility in the market with the Dow gapping lower and then rallying all the way back up into the green and then giving it up by the end of the day. We had obviously some pretty tough price action in the tech sector, and I think a rotation really picked up yesterday into defensive sector stocks. So what happened overnight? Well, Asian markets last night were mostly lower. Only the Shanghai was able to put in just a little tiny gain of $4.97. Everything else was down across the board. Hong Kong dropping 142 points as the tech sector continues to slide. We see European markets this morning are red across the board. Feeling a little bit of pressure here, and of course the situation in the Red Sea creating more uncertainty over there. Here in the US, we've got, and you have to keep in mind, this is fairly early in the morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. We've got red across the board here this morning in US futures, looking for a bit of a bearish open. If we look at the oil sector of the market, oil is just ever so slightly down with natural gas slightly up this morning, which is interesting with the supply worries going on in the Red Sea. And if we look at bonds this morning, bonds are just ever so slightly higher, moving up. We've got the 2-year bond at 4.35. The 10-year is at 3.97, and then we have the 30-year at 4.11. So moving in the wrong direction there on the bond situation this morning. So what does all this mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do very much appreciate it. Thank you for all the kindness in the comment section yesterday. I do appreciate it, and on the beginning of a brand new year. So let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Let's kind of set our bias aside and take a look at the charts. Well, first off, looking at the diamonds here, obviously blue sky high here. We're blue sky in the chart, and we tried to ignore what was going on in the tech sector yesterday and really bounce this back up. So we're still holding here in the diamonds above some support levels in that chart. So that is a bullish move here in the diamonds. We'll see if they can continue to push that through here today. But if the bears were to find additional inspiration this morning, then I would look for particularly this candle yesterday. If we break that low, watch out, we could start selling pretty quickly. But breaking down through that support, and then I would look for this next level down in here. Breaking down through this big black candle here would probably take us into this price support that I've got marked here, and if I pull that across, you'll see that is the breakout high here in the diamonds from 2021. So watch that carefully if we were to slip below that area. Now, you will want to keep in mind that this is still an extremely bullish chart, and the fact that we are so extended away from our moving averages gives me a little bit of worry, a little bit of a pause, that there is that possibility if the sellers do come on, the drop could be pretty sharp and substantial. It just simply because profit takers will all run for the door at the same time if that were to really pick up and start selling. So watch that closely. Whoops. Then if we take a look at our SPY, had a little bit more of a rough day yesterday, but it wasn't terrible because we did push back down to test the support area here in the chart and held at the end of the day. And you can see we're still trying to hang on here today on that in the pre-market. So we'll see if the data today helps us move this off of this. If the bulls can grab a hold of this and push up, then no harm here in the chart. We'll be holding our trend. As you can see, trend is still very, very bullish. We'll be holding our trend. We'll be holding some price support in the chart. And you can see over here in the SPY, that's these highs right across here that I've marked in the chart. Remember, the SPY is the only index that didn't make it out to a new breakout high. And it'll be interesting to see if those bulls do grab a hold, if they're going to make a stretch or a run to try and break that high. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration in the data here today, I think there's a reasonable chance that we could push back down and maybe test the low of that ugly black candle that we had in there, and possibly even break this trend in the chart. So let's watch carefully for that. And one of the reasons I think that might be possible is just simply because the QQQ, the old Magnificent Seven, seems to be having some trouble here at the moment after Apple's downgrade, and we're seeing quite a few of the big tech stocks pulling back. And I think there's a rotation into defensive sector stocks, and we'll look at some of those in just a moment. But as you can see, QQQ had a pretty rough day yesterday, pushing down, and we ended up closing down below that black candle right there, just closing right there, and we're trying to push on lower here this morning. Remember, a trend doesn't happen all at one day. It requires follow through, and really what we're likely to see in this chart, if we're really going to turn bearish in here, is we'll push down, we'll find a rally back, and that's where the real selling can begin. And what I just drew there, you'll notice, is a head and shoulders pattern in the chart. Now, I can't tell you it's going to look like that, but remember, this first wave to the downside is really nothing to be overly concerned about. It will be any rally that fails. That will be the concern in the market. So watch carefully if that were to occur. So if the bears can continue to push today, you can see we don't have much support. And that's one of the real problems with a zooming market like we have had. There's really nothing in here to give any major support at all until we're back down into this area, and that'd be a pretty painful sell-off in the market. If the bulls find inspiration today, well then, once again, I would be looking for a retest back up into these resistance areas, and then I'd be watching pretty closely for that potential failure. I'd be questioning pretty carefully in here whether I wanted to be long in that circumstance. So watch that close. And then our Russell IWM, it was probably the most overbought in the very short term. We were very parabolic in this move, and it was trying to catch up, pulling back yesterday after an attempt to run back up. Notice we tagged some resistance in here and then gave it up. Now we're following through to the downside. Now we do have some hope in here. We've got this upside trend right in here that we could grab a hold of as some price support. And then we have this trend break from that downside trend that could catch us right in this zone here as a little bit of price support. So I would watch carefully for that. If that were to break, the problem that we're going to have here is below this level. As you can see, we've got a little gap that we could fall into, and that could make for a pretty painful pullback if we were to fall and slip that gap. And remember, beyond that gap, we've just got this great big giant candle for price support. We could even see this easily come back down into here to take on this bigger trend given more time. Now, if the bulls find support in here, if the bulls find something in the data that they like and we can push up off of here, then I would look for that resistance right there on any rally back, and I would be questioning that carefully here, whether I'd want to be a buyer in here because of that potential that we could roll over and then just create our little head and shoulders top in here on IWM. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX popped up yesterday, and with that rally right at the end of the day, we had a big surge up right in the last few minutes of the day, pulled that VIX all the way back down, leaving that shooting star in here. So if the bulls can continue to find that inspiration and push us on higher, then I would look for that press back down in here to test these support levels in the chart as the bulls find the inspiration. However, with the bears finding a little bit of pre-market push here, inspiration, then I would be a little bit worried that that could turn and start to come back up here today, maybe even gap up here this morning. And this may actually turn out to be a higher low in the VIX. And we'll want to watch that pretty closely because that's where fear could really start to perk up in the market. So just keep a close eye on that. If the fear really starts to come up here as these complications in the Red Sea, downgrades, maybe a realization that we've pushed prices a little bit too far, too fast. And remember, we are in the blackout period for companies. They're unable to do stock buybacks, and that was a really big part of the fourth quarter is the stock buybacks. They can't do that now as they have to stand aside and wait until their earnings reports to be able to take any action. So watch that carefully. Then let's take a look at our T2122. Now remember, everyone, T2122, I get a lot of questions about this, but all T2122 is the 4-week new high, new low ratio. And what it's doing is taking a look at all the stocks out there and it's putting them in a ratio. And you can see, even with as bullish as we were through here, we have never been able to break above 100 in the chart. Now it's been a long time now since we have tested back down in this area. What we went through is a period of really high volatility where we were lingering an awful long time down here in the bottom. Then we got really excited and we lingered and lingered and lingered up here in the top side of T2122. Now what we saw yesterday with that little bit of a push, particularly in the diamonds back up, we saw T2122 hook just a little bit higher here. So that should give some hope to those bulls. If the bulls can find inspiration today, we could certainly make that push right back up in here to retest these levels up here in T2122. If the bears, however, the way they're looking right now this morning, have that inspiration, well, we could push this down. And just keep in mind, we've got a big downside opportunity here if those bears start moving. And you could kind of see that possibility where the profit takers would come in really quickly because we've extended, and you could see if we started to sell, a lot of folks might be jumping on that bandwagon to sell, and we can have that big strong move to the downside over a few days. So watch that close. Now our T2108 ended up the day relatively flat with that big surge right at the end of the day. This was actually pointed lower, but we ended up flat. I will kind of want to remind you that we're still very elevated here in the chart, so nobody should be too terribly surprised if the market does rest or pull back. And remember, it doesn't have to just sink, it can just consolidate in a choppy range, and that's fairly common heading into an earnings setup where we're about 2 weeks away from that. So we'll want to be watching for that choppy range bound area in the market depending on how data rolls in for us. So just watch that closely here on the day. If we were to take a look at our T2107, the percentage of stocks above the 200-day, also turned back up just ever so slightly in here. You will want to notice that this is extremely elevated, but we're still holding on to that trend. So if the bears were to come in, just keep in mind, if the bears do come in, we've got support levels in here. It's not like we have to panic or anything, but we are extremely elevated here, and we shouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of a resting pullback in the market. And then our T2101 shows us our market breadth, and one of the things we're likely going to experience here is that market breadth is going to struggle because so much of the bullishness in fourth quarter was corporate buybacks. So watch this carefully here. We did see a breadth sinking. Now that's a good sign for those that are bulls, because we had enough selling yesterday. If that would have turned around and showed the breadth increasing on the sell wave, that would probably raise additional fear. But what we saw yesterday is breadth continued to decline, even though we had selling in three of the indexes yesterday. It wasn't really marked as a good day for the bears. So wasn't really a good day for the bulls, but it wasn't really a good day for the bears either. Kind of a flat day, and that's one of those things that may happen as we move toward earnings. We could see kind of choppy price action, and we could see that breadth continuing to decline because we've lost those corporate buyback activities that were pumping this higher and higher and higher. So keep an eye on those things. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. Now, our economic calendar, we've got a little bit more data on this morning. If you remember yesterday, our PMI data came in not good, continuing to show that our manufacturing is in contraction. Today we're going to get an ISM number, and unfortunately the ISM consensus is suggesting that our manufacturing declined just a little bit, that we're not coming above 50 yet. Our manufacturing still in decline. Now, before that, we're going to have the motor vehicle sales report. We're going to have mortgage applications coming in here soon. We've got Barkin speaking this morning. Remember, here we go. We're going to start into that big cycle of Fed conversation out there that could throw that uncertainty into the market. Then we're going to have the job openings report. Unfortunately, consensus is suggesting that the job openings are going to increase, which is not going to be a happy thing for the Fed. So watch that carefully here this morning. And remember, they could be very wrong. And then we've got a 4-month bill auction, and then we've got FOMC minutes this afternoon. And as you know, we're probably not going to learn anything new from the FOMC minutes, but the normal course of action as we get through the morning volatility, and then we get into a really choppy, just wait and see mode in the market. We get the FOMC minutes, we get a lot of volatility reaction in the FOMC minutes, and then sometime later in the afternoon we find possibly a direction on which way we might go after that report. Keeping in mind, as we head into Thursday, we're going to get challenger job cuts, we're going to get the ADP numbers, we've got jobless claims, PMI composite final, we've got EIA natural gas and EIA petroleum numbers, and then some bond auctions and the Fed balance sheet at the end of the day. Now, I will want to remind you guys, I'm still trying to decide. I think I'm going to have just enough time, but I may get up early tomorrow, put out a morning market prep video tomorrow. Just know that there for sure will not be one on Friday, as I will be taking a couple of days, making a quick trip to Vegas just to relax a couple of days, but I'll be back next Monday. Let's take a look at some stocks that, oh, hey, earnings calendar. We better take a look at that first. This morning we have one verified report for this morning. UNF will be reporting today. Keep an eye on that. This before the bell, this report's to come out. See, we've pulled back the last couple of days, a possible double top. So this will be an important report to make that decision. Are we going to turn back around and re-attack and maybe even blow through that top, or are we going to potentially lose this trend on that report? So watch UNF. And then this afternoon we have three others. CALM will be reporting today. We've got RGP reporting today, and we're going to hear from SLP as well. So keep an eye on those earnings reports today. Pretty light on that earnings calendar, which is normal. Just going to piecemeal things out as we head into the big earnings reports coming up, and we'll start with big banks. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, please do me that favor and click that subscribe button. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find the videos to be useful, helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Once again, just a shout out and thanks to everyone who does do that. I truly appreciate it. And for those who share these videos out on your social media feed, that helps a lot. And also for those who continue to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee link just below the title of the video. Let's take a look at some of these charts setting up. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence. Make sure you're following your trading rules, your risk tolerances. You should never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade idea. A couple of charts that I placed some alerts on yesterday is this ENPH. ENPH was trying yesterday to push on through at one point in time, a nice bullish engulfing candle there, but it gave it up at the end of the day. What I like about it is that we've been following this trend and we broke through this resistance. So as we approach this trend over here, we want to be watching for that opportunity that those bulls can step up and maybe push through. But I don't want to anticipate that entry, particularly with the uncertainty that we're seeing in the market right now. I don't want to anticipate it. I want to wait for it. And that's why I placed an alert there on the chart. OSK was another one that was looking pretty good yesterday, trying to push up at one point in time, nearly a bullish engulfing, and then faded back. So I'm going to watch this one closely here. Again, remember, make sure you're not trying to anticipate these trades. It's a mistake that cost me a lot of money in years past when I would try to predict when the stock was going to turn and start going back up. It works a lot better for me to just let the buyer show me that they're moving back up, and then I get in. And then the last one here was JCI. I put an alert on this. This was looking really good, and it again pulled all the way back here on the day. But nothing is wrong here. Just let that rest. 2 or 3 more days resting in here, and that may just come right out of there and push right on up, just like we did right in here. Rest over to the trend, and then finally find that energy to bump on out. So watch that carefully in JCI. Now, I mentioned that there was a bit of a rotation yesterday showing up, and there was a lot of defensive sector stocks that made some big moves. Campbell's CPB, Campbell Soup made a big move here yesterday. If you remember, I was talking about some of these defensives. Nice pop yesterday. I wouldn't want to chase it here, but any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there in Campbell's. You can take a look at stocks like Mondelez. Mondelez making a nice breakout here yesterday. Little rest or pullback would set up an opportunity. I mentioned Hershey's yesterday. Had a nice little pop to the upside, breaking that downtrend. And if we take a look in here, just broke above that 50-day moving average. This creates that rounded bottom breakout pattern in a chart that we like to watch for. And popping through there, a little rest, consolidation, pullback, and I'd be looking for Hershey's for that potential upside move. And there's just a ton of these. If you go to Colgate looking good, CLX trying to break resistance, Walmart trying to push back up and break through resistance. So a lot of these defensive sector stocks showing bullishness. Now, another place that really got a lot of love and attention yesterday was in the drug makers. Take a look at stocks like Johnson & Johnson trying to break through this resistance yesterday. So any rest above this support up here, I think, sets up a potential opportunity to the upside. We saw Merck had a really good day yesterday, just ripping to the upside. Now, no way I'd want to chase this at the moment. Let this rest, consolidate, pull back. Look for that next opportunity in that chart. BMY made a nice little move popping up to test this resistance. We'll have to see if that can pop through and hold. Keep an eye on BMY. We saw Moderna make a big move yesterday, popping big. So again, look for any rest or pullback in these charts. Even Pfizer, the just been sold to the downside. Pfizer made that nice pop through this downtrend break yesterday, showing some bullishness. And here again, that possible rounded bottom breakout, breaking back above the 50. Any rest or pullback that holds above that 50, look for that next opportunity in Pfizer. Let's take a look at one more area of the market that seemed to have a little bit of love and attention, and that was in utilities, kind of the old boring sectors of the market, showing some really big moves yesterday. Nice pop here in XLU, and you could go into this ETF and just start running through some of these stocks, showing some pretty big pops in here. And one of them that I was kind of keeping an eye on yesterday was NEE. Nice little resting pattern in here, showing those bulls stepping up yesterday, trying to push through to the upside. So there's a few charts for you to be thinking about watching here in the market. Be kind of careful today with a bit of bearishness that we're seeing this morning. If the bears really start to pile on, it could become maybe a painful sell off. But if the data can help support the bulls, maybe we hold these support levels and try to push back up and be a little bit wary once we break some support levels. However, that rally back then sets up that opportunity for a lower high. So watch carefully and just be very thoughtful about the trades that we're taking from this extended area here, realizing that we're in our blackout period. So with that, everyone, have a wonderful day. I want to wish you all of the best, and I'll see you right back here bright and early tomorrow morning just for a really quick video before I head out and jump on an airplane. Y'all take care. Have a great one.